Is it hard for you to talk about your sexual wants, needs, and desires? Well, you're not alone. It's hard for everybody, and that's no pun intended. Are you hard right now and can't talk about it? Well, if so, this podcast is for you. Hi, I'm Toby. I'm from the band Emery. I've also led a bunch of men's groups with the True Man Experience, and I'm working on this podcast with Dr. Stormy, who is an amazing sex coach who has helped so many people, and that's what we're here to do. We were here to open up the conversation. You need to be able to talk about your sexual desires, your wants, and yes, even your needs, and where you can take your sex life with your partner. So sit back, relax. We're taking listener questions. We're going to have a great episode. Join us because this is the sex education you always wish you would have gotten. All right, we're back, and we have a really sensual, risque episode for you. And I will tell you this. I didn't tell you this before. When you first wrote it, this episode is called Mutual Masturbation. We're going to be talking about that. And I was just watching like X-Men with my kids or whatever. And I promise you, when you sent me the title, I was like, Mutant Masturbation. I was like, what? I can't wait for this episode. I don't even know where Stormy's going. She's taking Sex 101 to the next level.
Like to extraterrestrial level.
I was like, whoa.
Oh my gosh, that is hilarious.
But I was wrong. It's mutual masturbation. So
guess who my favorite? Obviously, Storm is my favorite X-Man.
Oh yeah,
of course.
Yep.
Hello,
for sure.
And it's Halle Berry, and she's gorgeous. So you know.
Yep, that's right. That's right. So this one's going to be interesting because I don't think a lot of people think about this as much as you know. I mean, I think we all think about masturbation as just self only. So I really appreciate that we're going to talk about this in a partnership, loving way. So I'm excited.
Yeah, totally. It's like mutual solo play, right? And that's like, so let's just start with that. So what is mutual masturbation? So it actually has like two different definitions. So it's masturbating yourselves together. Okay, so each of you masturbating yourself, but being together. Okay, so that's that solo play together, or helping each other, having hand sex and such with each other. Okay, so both of those would be considered mutual masturbation. One is not better than the other. We're going to encourage you to like explore and play with both. Okay, but it is a wives' tale. So let's just start with that. A wives' tale that only sexually dissatisfied people masturbate, or only single people masturbate. That is a wives' tale. So we're going to debunk that. Let's just take that right off the table. Okay. Actually, what has been shown is that masturbating together is a really amazing thing for your partnership. Okay, scientifically, it's been shown. So let's just get right into it. So why do we think it's a great thing? Why do we encourage it? Okay, this is obviously always with full consent with your partner, but it's so intimate because exactly what you just said, Toby. Usually people think of masturbation solo, behind closed doors, usually with like a lot of shame and hurry up and quick and do it in the shower and don't tell anybody about it, right? Like that's really acculturating us from the time that we're young, like in childhood and when we start masturbating. So it's so intimate because it's not behind closed doors, right? You're such a shared experience with your partner and you get to let them watch and hear. Okay. So it is very intimate, and that's a great way to build intimacy in your partnership, as well as likely spice it up, because for many of you, this will be novel.
Yeah.
Okay?
You're right. It's funny too, for men. I think oftentimes you're right. Like masturbation is fast, get it done, try to find some spot where you won't get caught. It's like there's a lot of shame that goes along with it, and a lot of just hurry up, and which it doesn't teach you how to have healthy sex. It's not about hurry up and get done. You know what I mean?
Exactly. No, absolutely. Right. So it can also be really healing. So I didn't write that, but not only intimate, but it can be really healing for both people. So, and then the other thing is it's a really fun way to play with the roles of voyeur and exhibitionist all at the same time, right? So voyeur is the watching, exhibitionist is the showing for another, right? So you get to like play with those roles in a really lovely, sustained, secure way with the voyeur and the exhibitionist roles, which from our episodes on role play and fantasy, those are two big fantasies for people often. So, and then here's the other thing: is it's the best sex ed besides this podcast. It's the best sex ed that you can get, right? You are literally getting to see what turns your partner on, how they touch themselves. It's it is the best sex ed you can get with your partner.
That makes a lot of sense. because you're seeing what they would want to do to themselves. That's great.
Totally.
Yeah.
Right. And so it's also great for pleasure, right? That's the other benefit of it. It's like, it's a really great way to see how you're going to be touching yourself. So you're going to be, if you're going to do it in that way, and you're going to be bringing yourself to pleasure, maybe to orgasm or climax. And so it's a way to help bridge that pleasure gap. If you're finding that this partnered sex for you, which is the case for a lot of women, penetration alone, let's say, is not enough. Well, now you're getting to do clitoral stimulation, right? So it's a really great way for both of you to ensure that you're going to really experience a lot of pleasure and together. So that's super cool. So, and then one of the studies I found in the International Journal of Sexual Health said that individuals who engage in mutual masturbation tend to also exhibit higher levels of sexual satisfaction in their relationship. Okay, so that's that correlation that like mutual masturbation together in a partnership is actually correlated to more sexual satisfaction in the partnership.
That makes sense. That you are more satisfied. They're saying you are more satisfied sexually when you do that because and probably because the last point you just made, because you're actually learning what your partner wants. So, yeah,
it's a really great tool for that, for sure. So let's get into the how-to of it, shall we?
Yeah.
So just like every episode,
let me see if I can guess. Lube, and more lube.
No. The other one I always talk about. The other one I always talk about. Communication.
So,
although I think I do have lube in here somewhere. I do have lube in here somewhere. I knew I had it in here somewhere.
Another t-shirt idea. Communilubrication.
Both are awesome.
Yeah.
No, it's awesome. But talking about it first, right? Because like I said, this is this intimate healing experience. It might be new for you in your partnership, or just new for you in your whole sexual history. But talking about it first. So it can be something that's like super sexy. Let's say on a date night, or let's say you're watching a sexy movie with like a sexy scene or whatever, or whatever, like you're out on a date night, you're like, what would be really fun and I think could be super sexy is mutual masturbation. Like how are you open to it? Right? Like it's a great way. That's like, and the person might be like, you don't know what the other person, your partner's gonna say. They might be like, absolutely not. It'd be like, okay, like, so what feels like a no for you on that, right? You get to respect your partner's no, obviously. That's what consent is and boundaries is. But like, you can bring curiosity, or they're like, well, I don't know. Like, tell me a little bit more about that, right? So like having the conversation. So what is it? And what is it going to look like, right? And it might be like, we don't know because we've never done it. So we're going to try this way. Like, are you both going to touch yourselves? Are you going to help each other? Is one going to watch and then the other going to watch? Like, what is the deal? What seems exciting too? Because there's lots of different variations on that. So if that feels overwhelming to you, one of the things I say about talking about it first is you can use, there's different erotic card decks that you can find literally like on Amazon. There's lots of people have a wants, wills, won'ts list out. I have one as well. So you can email me for that. It gives you a long list of things that you want, you will, and you won't. And mutual masturbation is one of them. But it gives you other tools, right? So you might be talking about other things. So wants, wills, won'ts list, exotic card decks, just having the conversation about it. These are all important things. And if you want that wants, wills, won'ts list, just shoot me an email, stormy@lovedeeplab.com, and put that in the subject, and I'll shoot that over to you.
Yeah, I love that when you described that before, because it not only helps clarify things for you, but also your partner, and it just is a great conversation starter. And I really like that idea of just like, hey, we were going to watch a movie anyway. What if we just had a little fun? And it will be fun. Like, you will like it.
And erotica can be a great way. There's so much erotica now, like that's really beautifully written, really good, classy, lovely erotica, really sound, right? So that can be like, wow, like find an erotica about mutual masturbation and be like, hey babe, this is like, let's read this together. It's like, does that seem hot to you? Or like, how is that for you?
Yeah, totally.
So that's the first how-to is talking about it. Shocking communication. But here we go. We get to the second one, which does include lube. The second one, the second tip is how to set the scene. Okay, because it might be novel, because there's an element of a really deep intimacy, right? It's not. You might have success if it's just like a random, let's just try this all at once. But you're more likely to have success if you've thought about are you going to have lube there, right? And I
Yeah.
would recommend it, okay, for sure. Do you want some music on to relax? Maybe you have a glass of wine or a cup of tea, right? Like you can also use toys in mutual masturbation. Maybe you're using toys, maybe you're not. Have those there, have them charged if you're going to use them, And then one of the questions I get asked often is, what about the position for mutual masturbation? And I'd say, like, there's lots of different positions for it. Like, sitting in front of each other with your legs open is probably the most visually appealing. It's also the most visually intense. If you're new to this and that seems like, oh, hell no, that is not a way to find my pleasure, lay next to each other, right? The same way you would normally self-pleasure yourself if your partner weren't there can be a really beautiful way. But there's lots of different variations on it. And then the other thing I tell my clients is that if you're exploring it and you're like really feeling like, oh, I'm turned on by it, but I'm like really nervous, it's like you can blindfold yourself. So your partner is there watching, for example, but you can't see them, right? And that can really heighten your sensation too. So that you can always play with the blindfold as well. So that's all about setting the scene.
Yep. You've talked about that. You talked about that, I think, on the Love Your Body and Be a Better Lover episode about setting the scene for your room and making it feel comfortable so you feel comfortable. And so that is important. Then your environment is important. I think so many times we disregard that. Like, let's just get to the sex, or let's just, there's the lube, let's just roll with it. But your environment, if your room's maybe sometimes a dirty room throws me off. It just does. Right. You know what I mean? Totally. Like clean up your room. Yeah. Like you said, like, you can really make your environment welcoming to both of you so that you will be more turned on and present.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's really important. It just starts to get you into like yummy, sexy thing. It's also the intentionality, right? Like, ooh, this is going to be super fun and sexy. So we're like creating a space around it.
Yeah.
And then I think the logistics is like, what is it? And this is part of the discussion part, but what is it you're wanting to try? You can both self-pleasure at once, right? Watching each other. You can literally have one person watch, one person do. Okay? And I don't say perform, because you're not performing, you're just pleasuring and your partner gets the benefit of watching, okay? And switch or whatever. And then you can also help each other, right? So that masturbate and help each other, right? And you can use toys, right? But it's really also a beautiful thing to give feedback. So it's like telling your partner, like, oh, like this feels so good, or I love it when I do this, right? Using verbal and nonverbal feedback. And then if you're the one watching, give your partner so much feedback, like, oh my God, it is so hot to watch you do this. Like, it is so beautiful. You look so beautiful doing that. Oh my gosh. Like, you feedback it up, right? Because if this is a new experience and it's powerful and intense to be the one being watched, give your partner a lot of feedback.
Yeah. I love that. And it can even, and feedback too, like you said, like you can watch and give feedback to your partner while they are masturbating, and you can, there's all kinds of things you can do here to be together while still pleasuring yourself.
Totally. Yeah. And then I think the other one, we talk about this a lot today, was like, be willing to laugh. Like, it can be very like, you can be like, whoa, oh my God, it's so awkward. Like, it's like, oh, I've never, I'm 40, whatever, and I've never done this before. Like, just be willing to like laugh and have it be playful, because it is totally meant to be a playful, connecting, intimate, pleasure-filled tool. Yep.
100%. Allow yourself to, fun is fun. It doesn't matter, what you're doing, allow that to happen. It can be
totally fun. Yeah, it's really beautiful. So I think those are just some, some tips to set you up for success. And by the way, if this is a no for you, like on the wants, wills, won'ts list, this might be a hard no. It's like, well, then this episode is not for you, right? It's like that. Yeah. We always honor your no. We want you to always honor your no. We want your partner to honor your no. But it can just even be like, you might even be like, you know what? It's a no for me to do it in front of you. Maybe I have a history of trauma and that's just a no, but maybe it's not a no for you to do it in front of me, right? Like, that's also information. All of that's information. So.
All right. I love this. I think this is great. I think it's something people should do more. I think, like we said in the beginning, I think people just think of it as solo, or there's even shame associated with it. And it is really sexy to see your partner, how they have been alone. And now you're getting to be there with them. That is a shame associated with it. And it is really sexy to see your partner, how they have been alone. And now you're getting to be there with them. That is a turn on.
Yeah. And it's only, they say 36% of couples in the United States use mutual masturbation. So, it's not nothing, but it's not a lot. And so hopefully this will help, you feel like powerful to consider it.
All right. Let's get to Stump Stormy. last episode, if you didn't listen, go back and listen. Stormy immediately got the answer to what is honeymoon rhinitis. So I'm going to try and see if I can get this one.
Okay,
I'm trying to keep it nerdy. You might know this. I don't know. I hope you don't get this. A single sperm contains how many megabytes of DNA information?
No, I have no idea. Like a lot. Like a lot.
Well, I was going to go a whole lot too, but it is 37.5 megabytes. So I was thinking like now one
megabytes. So like we're talking about like
yeah. But that's just one sperm. So an ejaculation represents a data transfer of 15,875 gigabytes. I mean, that's insane.
It's insane. It's insane.
Which is the equivalent combined capacity.
What's amazing is it only takes one strong swimmer to make a baby.
Right. One of those 37 megabytes is why I'm here.
Totally. That is crazy. That kind of stuff, like that scale, like blows my mind. It like, especially when you added like computer technology terms, which I am so not good at.
So one ejaculation is the equivalent combined capacity of 62 MacBook Pro laptops. Wow. Yeah. So give it up for the dads out there. That's if your computer's moving slow, well, your dad's computer didn't move that slow one time, and that's why you're here. So give it up for the dads. A pretty good
totally. RAM. Yeah, no pun intended, or maybe pun intended. Exactly. No, that's so fascinating. It just, to me, like that stuff just blows my mind. But it also shows me like the power of sex, right? The power of our sexual energy, the power, like one of the reasons why we're so passionate about having this be about adult sex education, right? So that because it is so powerful. Sex is it's the most powerful energy on the planet,
Yep. And you're exactly right. It's life. It is life, and it creates life, and it can breathe life into us. And so that's what it is. Okay. Let's get to listener questions.
Have a question? We've got answers. Here's this week's listener question.
All right. I'm a newlywed, and my husband does something that started out sweet, but now is getting annoying. Every time we have sex, he constantly asks me if I'm okay and do I want to change positions or try something different. I enjoy having sex with him, but I want to just focus on sex, and I want him to trust that I will tell him if I want something different or if I'm okay or not. I've tried to bring it up, but he seems to think it's more about respect and being loving towards me. And this comes from shut the fuck up.
So, I mean, just to normalize, we talked about this in the last episode, actually 2 episodes ago, but just under half of Americans report that our partner does something that we hate, is the word they use, strongly dislike during sex, and we're too embarrassed or afraid to tell them. So just, it is totally normal, but I don't want that to be the case. Like, that my mission would be that that's not the case, that we can communicate about these things. So, I think talk to your partner about, you've always tried to bring it up, but we're going to try it in a different way. An open dialogue rather than a personal critique. Right. So keeping it open of like, I really love it when you do this, like, right. So starting with a positive, right? Like, I really love it. And again, not in the moment. Like, I would not recommend this in the moment when he's doing the thing that you're like, that's frustrating you, which is, he's asking for feedback, right? It sounds like he's asking for a lot of feedback. Part of feedback is the more feedback you give, the less he has to ask, right? Typically, right? So maybe if you're offering, so this would be during, if you're offering feedback of like, oh, I love it just like this, I don't want to, let's stay just like this, right? You're giving him feedback. Maybe you'll notice that his asking or inquiring goes down. And I also love what you said, to share with him, not during sex, but to say like, hey, I loved it the other night when you did this. And I want to tell you, like, when I'm really liking something or wanting something, I will totally tell you, right? Like, you're taking that on ownership. You're telling him that you're letting his nervous system calm, where he doesn't feel like he needs to ask for, your feedback, to seek the feedback. Because we all have preferences, but our preferences are about us, and your partner cannot know, your husband cannot know what your preferences are, even if you've made love thousands and thousands of times together. So sharing that with him. And I also love what you said there. I wanted him to just focus on sex and trust that I will tell him. Like, that's you getting to be like, I love that. And I am a powerful, sensual woman, and I will tell you what I want and what I like, right? Like, that's super sexy. So trying taking it on some of like that, having a conversation about that. And then, I think another thing that popped in my head as I was reading your question is maybe you're wanting to like take the lead a little more and like just lead into different positions without asking you. It's like, maybe. So get curious about that if that's the case. And if that's the case, tell him that. Say like, I think it's so sexy when you just move me into a different position, right? Or whatever it is for you, right? You're telling him that, you're giving him permission and an invitation to do something different.
Yep, 100%. And I think too, it obviously he's not present with his own pleasure. And like you said before, if he's worried about just only your pleasure, he's missing out on some of his, which will take away your pleasure as well. Like
totally.
if he's not being able to be present. So allow him to know that, like, hey, I want you to focus on your pleasure, because when you're having pleasure, almost always I'll be having pleasure too.
Totally. Yeah, that's really well said, Toby. Like, right, it's like you take full responsibility for your pleasure, I'll do the same, right? Yep. Like, that is super hot. Yeah.
Yep, totally. All right, next question. My girlfriend's teeth always scrape the head of my penis when she gives me oral sex. I love getting blowjobs, but this makes it not fun. She doesn't do this on purpose. I think it's just about as wide as she can go. Is there any techniques we can try to stop the scraping? And this comes from, you can't handle the tooth. That's my Jack Nichols impression.
Very good Jack Nichols impression.
You can't handle the tooth.
Very clever. I don't know where you come up with these. Amazing. So putting your tongue over your lower teeth or your lips over your teeth, right? Your upper and lower teeth, up your lips is one way that we can minimize the teeth against the penis. There are many women who don't like the feeling of that. They think it's uncomfortable or hurts. Okay, so that might be playing in. I don't know. But there's also different positions, right? Oral sex in different positions can help minimize the teeth. So play around with blowjobs in different positions to see if she has an easier time in certain positions. Okay, and I mean the other thing is that have the conversation about it. Right? I know I say this with everyone because it's so important. Keep it positive. Like, you can listen to all of our last episode was all about how to talk about sex. So because some men actually like teeth, report that they like some degree of teeth in a blowjob, right? Okay, teeth on the penis. So maybe that's her experience and she's assuming you do too, so if you're not having the conversation about it, where you're leaving room for assumption. So you can say like, for example, something like, I love how you give me a blowjob, or I love how you suck my cock, or whatever it is, like your language. And like, sometimes when your teeth like scrape, it takes me out of my pleasure. Like, I'm wondering what we can do so that doesn't happen. And I don't want you to be uncomfortable, right? Like, cause you also, maybe she's like getting tired of like her lips wrapped around her teeth and you need to take a break and move into something else, right? So it's so beautiful, right? You're not like, you give a terrible blowjob, I don't like the teeth scraping, because that's not what you're saying either. So it's not how you want her to interpret that. So how you have the conversation, and then playing a little bit with the tongues and the lips, and then the positions is what I would recommend.
Yep, 100%. As soon as you said put your lips over your teeth, I did it. I went, oh. I don't know why I did it, but I did that. I was like,
yeah, so did I.
Yeah, it's just immediately exactly. And then also, like you always say, Stormy, you have hands, you have lubes, you have all these different things. You have your tongue. You can use all these different things to improve oral sex and make it to where it's pleasurable for both of you. And so just play around with that too. Don't be afraid to play. It doesn't have to be just the traditional thing that we always accepted is this is what it is. Try some things and see, you might even like something way better than you knew because you weren't trying it.
Totally.
All right. Awesome. Now, if you have listener questions, we love answering listener questions. We appreciate it so much for sending them in. You guys are amazing. We love all these questions, and not only us, we know that you aren't the only one. Your questions are common. People out there want to hear questions because you don't want to feel alone, and you're not alone. Everybody goes through some of these things. So you're not alone. So, but make sure you send in your listener questions to Stormy at lovedeeplab.com, or you can send it to Toby at marriagesupply.com. Stormy has a lot of stuff at Love Deep Lab, right? That they can get from you.
Yeah, you can go to lovedeeperlab.com, and there's an intimacy guide on there and some other things on there. You can check that out. But yeah, I think I really appreciate you saying that, Toby. Like, the listener questions are amazing. Every time I read them, I'm like so moved and touched. They're so brave. They're so powerful. They're so vulnerable. So just keep them coming. It's really, it really means a lot to us.
Yep. And if you're looking to spice up your a blowjob or sex tonight, you can always use code SEX101 at marriagesupply.com. You get 10% off. It can make things lots of fun with some of the sex toys we have. Also, follow Dr. Stormy on Instagram at DocStormy1. That's the number 1, or TikTok. It's touchy subjects with 3 S's, and Marriage Supply is on Instagram as well at the.marriage.supply. Thank you guys for listening. We really do appreciate it. Remember, knowledge is power. Sex is power.
And the world needs more of both.